Getting kind of quiet.
Okay, ready? Yep. Let me go ahead and read this like I'm supposed to here. Okay, let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Yosemite Community College District Board of Trustees for Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018 to order. And if I could all get you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move on now to item 3.2, report out from closed session. We have no official report other than to report that Trustee Leslie Beggs recused herself with respect to the item pertaining to negotiations for YFA. Moving on now to item 3.3, approval of the minutes of the January 10th, 2018 Board of Trustees regular meeting. Give everyone a few moments to review those minutes and then entertain a motion to approve or make any changes.
I move we approve the minutes.
I have a motion by Trustee DeMartini and a second by Trustee Rojas to approve the minutes. Any further discussion?
I have a correction.
Okay, we now have a correction.
Just under members present for the 3:30 portion of the meeting, Trustee Leslie Beggs arrived for closed session. It will read to say that.
Okay, so we have that correction. Still the same motion, Trustee DeMartini and Trustee Rojas with that correction?
Yes.
Okay, any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on now to item 3.4, approval of minutes of the February 5th, 2018 Board of Trustees special meeting. Going to allow a few seconds for everyone to review that, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve or make changes. Do we have any changes, Madam Clerk? Okay, thank you.
So moved.
So moved by Trustee Rojas. Second by Trustee Viss. Any further discussion, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We'll move on now to item 3.5, public comments. First of all, this is a large crowd, and we want to thank all of you for being here on February 14th, Valentine's Day. It brings a real warmness to our heart that you came here to see us and not your loved ones, although you may deal with that later. Some of you may still need to buy flowers or candy or some other item of affection, and so if we move this along tonight, you'll have plenty of time to do that.
I thought we were the loved ones.
Well, so I have a number of people who are interested in speaking in public comment, obviously on items that are not on the agenda, and again, I appreciate the public input, especially from staff. We serve you, and it's good to hear from you and hear your comments. So the first one up is Chandra Howard. And I'll just say, no, come on up. Just remind everyone, for those that are going to speak, keep in mind what the previous person spoke about so we don't end up with repetitive issues. We like to keep things to 5 minutes. If you run a little over, just kind of be respectful of that, but we do want to hear what you have to say. So thank you again for being here.
Hi, I'm Chandra Howard, and I'm a full-time English instructor at MJC. I'm here today to describe my work so that you might have a better understanding of what the English instructors and professors do on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annual basis. I primarily teach English 45, an accelerated basic skills writing course. It is open access, which means anyone can take it. I have returning students who have never used a computer. I have language learners. I have students with learning challenges, and students who test into MJC at the lowest writing level. English 45 in one semester prepares them for English 101. It requires California Acceleration Project trained instructors to understand teaching principles such as the flipped classroom, just-in-time grammar and writing remediation, reading apprenticeship practices, attentiveness to the affective domain, and analyzing high-level readings and producing high-level writing. What does this mean that I teach? I teach college student behavior, decorum, and soft skills. I teach email professionalism, Canvas access, and Microsoft Word program basics. I teach MLA formatting. I teach grammar and punctuation rules. I teach writing process and structure, different writing situations, understanding of audience, academic voice or tone, different paragraph styles and purpose, thesis statement development, source incorporation and citation, quote integration, idea cohesion, and argument execution, outlining, drafting, revising, editing, and proofreading. Before the writing process begins, I teach college-level reading skills, thesis identification, annotation, idea chunking, word roots and sentence structure, different registers and types of texts, and then summary. And I curate informed lectures and guided discussions of their thematically linked readings based on hours of research. English 45's word count requirement per student is 6,000 words. It's 8,000 for English 101. So I read 6,000 words of revised and edited essays per student. At my 29 student classroom cap, that means I read 174,000 words in total. But that's a lie. It's a little white lie, but it's a lie. It's a minimum. That word count does not include quizzes, in-class exams, group work, reading responses, reading annotations, or other various forms of writing I ask the students to do on a weekly basis. But just based on the 6,000 word, 29 student math, I read approximately 500 pages per class. I teach 2 English 45s a semester, so I read 1,000 pages of student essays, 348,000 words. But of course, I do not just read them. I think about them. I assess the problems the students need to work on. I have to mark them and create action plans that are meaningful to the individual student. I send them feedback, links, handouts that can help them with grammar issues, and I use Socratic feedback and ask them critical questions. I evaluate and comment according to the department rubric. I do not just read 1,000 pages. I write responses to those 1,000 pages. And that's just 2 classes. And we don't get to teach just 2 classes. The faculty contract defines the work week at 42.5 hours per week. That is divided by teaching, class prep, office hours, and shared governance or committee work. In addition to reading and commenting on over 1,000 pages per semester, in addition to creating inventive and responsive class sessions that engage just-in-time writing remediation, in addition to holding office hours, in addition to my committee work on curriculum, Umoja, and the Division Curriculum Advisory, I also provide service to the institution. When ASMJC asked if I would create a presentation on banned books, I said yes. Hours of work and meetings went into that yes. When the African American Education Conference needed workshop presenters last spring, I said yes. Hours of work and meetings went into that yes. In the community, when the State Theater asked MJC English faculty to help launch and host their book club, I said yes. Hours of work went into that yes as well. In return, we maintain good standing in the community and acquire a certain level of prestige, a desirable commodity for the college. I'm not alone in this kind of work. It's representative among my colleagues. Our work is substantial, and we hope that the board recognizes the substantial amount of work, time, and intellectual agility it takes to be part of MJC's English department. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have being told that the video is also in the overflow room over there. So if some of you are standing, right, Madam Clerk? Yeah. You want a seat in the room next door, there's the video, a live feed going in there as well. Next, we have Elizabeth McInnes, if I pronounce that correctly. You're welcome.
don't know about other people. I can get in front of a classroom and I'm fine. I get in front of you guys and I'm like this. So sorry if I'm a little shaky. Hi, my name is Elizabeth McInnes, and I'm a biology teacher here at MJC. I started here in 2001 as an adjunct professor. I fell in love with MJC immediately. I was so impressed. There was activities going on campus. It was a real college feel, and I was so excited about that with a community college. I was a community college student at one point, and my college, Chaffey College in Southern California, it did not have the same, wasn't the same experience. I wanted to work here. I wanted to work here full time. It took till 2005, and I was hired as a full-time biology professor, and I'm still really very thankful to have the opportunity to serve this community and teach here. I serve students of diverse backgrounds, different races, different cultures, some ESL, some poor, some rich, some with little educational experience. Some of them could easily be at the UC right now, and they choose to be here at MJC. I come to teach every day ready to serve them all. I tell them often that I work for them, that I work for the taxpayers of California, that I work for the taxpayers in our district. I come from a family of public servants to the state of California, and I'm proud of that. I designed my courses to address numerous learning styles to help biology come alive for my students. No pun intended, it's the study of life. In the spring, I teach Botany 101. Every spring, I update my lectures to reflect recent advances in botany, and there's a lot. I take my students on field trips. Next Saturday, we'll be visiting UC Berkeley, Botanic Gardens. I choose to share my Saturday with my students because I know it will impact them and it will increase their knowledge in botany. On any Monday or Wednesday afternoon, you might see me around town foraging for plant specimens that are going to be used in lab. You might find me up a ginkgo tree or a pine tree in search of gymnosperm ovaries. It happens a lot. I want to note that I am always very busy in lab, and as are my colleagues in science. We're always maintaining equipment, maintaining a safe learning environment, keeping specimens used in instruction alive, which is difficult, helping students to understand difficult scientific concepts. I feel sometimes that it's sad that our instructors are not compensated for science labs at the same rate as we are for lecture. I hope that all of our efforts are valued and appreciated. I would feel proud of this district that I serve if it would make the choice to honor our cohort and to work towards a fair compensation agreement. I'd like to extend an invitation to all of you to any time, come to my lecture, come to my lab, and see what I'm doing, and make a visit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Sam Pierstorff. And again, I hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly. So,
is this being used as a webcam or anything like that? This laptop? Can I close this?
Ask Graciela.
I just want them to see me. Good evening, board members, Chancellor Young. My name's Sam Pierstorff. I've been at MJC as a professor in English for 18 years. Thank you. I was hired when I was 10.
Yes.
I just want to say happy Valentine's Day. I think we can all agree that we're here tonight because we love and value education. We love our students, and we want them to succeed, and that's why we all work here. We all want student success. Student success is a core value at this district. It's a value that informs or should inform every single decision that we make inside and outside of the classroom. Is this good for students? Yes. Great. Then let's do it. Will this harm students? It will? Then let's not do that. I think it's that simple. Even the chancellor's message on the district's website makes this crystal clear. He writes that we are, quote, committed to excellence in serving students and are continuously working to ensure each student has an opportunity to gain the skills and education needed to achieve their goals. And I think that's awesome, and I think we all agree. At both MJC and at YCCD, our values are outlined in our mission statements, which include phrases like we are, quote, committed to responding to the needs of our diverse community through excellence in teaching. That helps students succeed. YCCD also supports innovation and creativity and a, quote, quality educational environment. That helps students succeed. And at Modesto Junior College in particular, where nearly 20,000 students come daily to learn and grow despite extraordinary adversity, in many cases, according to our mission statement, MJC remains, quote, committed to transforming lives through programs and services informed by the latest informed by the latest scholarship of teaching and learning. That helps students succeed. And it's fantastic and absolutely necessary that an academic institution with a history as rich and as proud as ours would put students first and ensure that great teaching and learning is informed by the latest scholarship. Which brings me to my point. Where in the latest scholarship about teaching and learning is the increase of class size proposed as a good idea? In what ways are students more successful when a class is overcrowded, when a teacher is overworked and underpaid? The appalling proposal by the district to increase class sizes is not built on any scholarship. An increase in class size does not support quality education, and it certainly does not support excellence in teaching if teachers are spread even thinner than they already are. And each student will not have the opportunity to gain skills and education needed as Chancellor Young would like to see. In fact, there will be fewer opportunities to interact and to engage with faculty if class sizes are increased. If the district attempts to move forward with or seriously consider any increase in load or class size, then the district needs to be honest and revise its mission statement. Because these proposed changes tell us loud and clear that student success is not a priority. Neither is teaching excellence, and certainly no one is using the latest scholarship to inform these decisions. As for me and probably every faculty member in this room, I happen to like our mission statement. I happen to like it the way it is. I love the work we do and the students whose lives we change. Their success is our success. Student success is our success, and we should never, ever compromise that. Thank you.
So thank you. Next, we have Susan Ackard.
Hello, my name is Suzanne Akard. I am an adjunct instructor of music and humanities in the arts division at MJC. Thank you for allowing me this chance to give my perspective not only as a faculty member, but also as a former MJC student, a former classified employee, the parent of a current MJC student, and the wife of a full-time professor. As a student at MJC, I greatly benefited from the amount of time my instructors poured into my life. Some of these instructors I saw 5 days a week for 4 semesters, and those were the longer 18-week semesters. As a classified employee at MJC, I enjoyed helping both students and instructors as an instructional assistant. I interacted with students, but I saw that the students interacted more with the faculty members. As a parent of an MJC student, I see that it is my son's instructors who are having the greatest impact in his life and helping him to reach his educational goals. As a wife of a full-time professor, I see the time and effort my husband puts into the lives of his students, both inside and outside of the classroom. As an instructor myself, I truly love that I can help our diverse range of students to succeed. It is very satisfying to hear students say that what they learned in my class opened their eyes to new things in life, or that taking my class changed them as a person for the better, or that my help during a difficult semester was the reason they stayed in college. Student success is not just numbers on a page. It is real, beneficial changes in real people's lives, fostered in large part by the hard work of instructors. There are many great ways that different MJC employees help students to achieve their goals, but faculty members pour into students' lives more consistently and more constantly than anyone else. From all of my perspectives, it is clear: if the district truly cares about student success, it will care about faculty. If the district does not care about faculty, it does not care about student success. Faculty have shown and continue to show that we care about students. I urge the district to demonstrate commitment to student success by treating faculty with respect and fairness. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sarah Berger.
All right, I'll try to speak quickly to get through in 5 minutes. Good evening. My name is Sarah Berger, and I am an instructor in the English Language Department, not to be confused with the English Department at MJC. Our learners are students whose first language is not English. Within the EL department, we have an academic program called English Language Instruction for College, or ELIC for short. And in this program, our goal is to prepare students to be successful in English 101 and other transfer level courses. There are 2 elective strands, grammar and listening and speaking, and 1 required strand, a 4-level reading-writing sequence leading directly into English 101. This means that in our reading-writing strand, we teach reading, writing, editing, and study skills, while simultaneously providing students with the necessary language support, such as grammar instruction, vocabulary building, and listening and speaking skills that they will not find in English courses aimed toward native speakers. I am here this evening, like my other colleagues, because my EL colleagues and I want to voice our concern about the district's proposed 45-student classroom cap and its detrimental effects for both faculty and students. In recent years, my department has been told that our students needed to progress more quickly through our program in order to reach English 101. So we worked to redesign our credit program, eventually realizing that offering our reading and writing courses in 8-week increments was the only way to meet the demands of administration, while also allowing students the necessary time, often multiple years, needed to acquire the language and develop their skills. We have been told that our classes were too many units, so we reduced the unit values in all of our classes from 5 to now 3 or 4 units, depending on the course. We have also been told that although we previously had classroom slots at specific times during the day, these classrooms would be taken away and given to other disciplines because they too needed the space. So as a last resort, we created hybrid courses in order to offer classes at the times that our students can attend. Although reluctant at first, we knew that our program design and class restructuring could be an opportunity for positive change and allow our students to meet their goals in a more timely manner. But now we are being told that there is a proposed change to the classroom cap that could increase the number of students in our classes, not by 2 or 3, but by 15 students per class. This is a 50% increase from the current EL classroom cap of 30 students. A current load in my discipline is 15 units, which means that in any given semester, we are required to teach 4 classes, equating to roughly 120 students. Increasing the classroom cap would mean that we would be required to teach an additional 60 students. That is 2 sections worth of students, or what would equate to a 152% load while being compensated for 100%. This is not right. I am on sabbatical this year, so I asked my colleagues how much time they are currently spending on grading papers in their reading and writing classes. One colleague who is currently teaching one of our advanced level accelerated 4-unit courses responded that her students are required to produce roughly 7,000 words. This includes multiple draft essays, reading responses, vocabulary packets, a midterm and final exam, which equates to around 840 pages of grading. Allowing 5 minutes per page to correct, mark, and grade, that is a low estimate. Often essays can take longer per page depending on the quality of writing and amount of grammatical errors, as well as grading quizzes and some other smaller assignments. She averages spending around 85 to 90 hours of grading in one 4-unit, 8-week course. This is of 30 students, not counting prep. Another instructor responded that he had been working on a stack of intermediate-level multi-draft essays, also in a class of 30 students, for roughly 8 hours and had yet to finish. 2 other colleagues wrote to me that it would be, quote, too depressing to think about how much time they spend grading. I can't imagine having 45 students in our writing classes, one said. This would not be productive or healthy. It's true, it is neither productive nor healthy nor right to ask us to increase our teaching load, all while asking us to give more time, more committee work, and more engagement with college-wide projects such as guided pathways, for example. More, more, more. This makes me more stressed, more worried, and more frustrated. But I feel even more so for my part-time colleagues who are already undercompensated for their duties and workload. The district does not pay them for office hours, but can ask them to increase their teaching load by 50%. How is that fair? I also wonder how this supports the administration's desire to increase student success when more students in the classroom will mean that I will not be able to provide as much directive feedback needed for them in order to improve, that they will have fewer opportunities to be heard in class, speak with me, and engage in the communicative activities necessary to increase their language skills. If anything, I believe that we should reduce the class size cap in our language classes. In fact, both the American Council on Teaching Foreign Languages and the Conference on College Composition and Communication recommend a class size of under 20. My colleagues and I know that our work and our time are valuable, but we cannot continue to do the same work that we do or provide the same level of service to the college with an increased class size. I ask that we are shown the respect that we deserve for our dedication to our profession and to our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, we have Jill Ramsey.
Good evening. As I've been sitting and listening to my colleagues talk, I've been writing all sorts of notes over what I'd planned to say. I am here because I do love teaching, and it's probably something you've heard over and over again. I also have to say, and this is totally off script, I wonder why all of you ran for office and why you are here. And I have to believe it's because you also want student success. I can't think of any other reason that you would be here. And for some of you have served so long and been so dedicated to this role. I began teaching at MJC 18 years ago, along with Sam and Sarah and Shelley and all sorts of people. I'm still here. I could be working 3 days a week, making 50% more than I do now, with no homework, with no other obligations. But I choose to be here. And so I'm not asking for any sort of pity for what I'm doing, because I'm doing this because I love it. I came to JC with a master's degree from UCSF, a bachelor's from UC Davis, and I couldn't get into the JC nursing program. It was so impacted. So I went to Loyola University in Chicago. And proudly, I have an AA degree from Modesto Junior College prior to that. In addition, I have over 18 years of experience working as a nurse and an educator, both in the United States and overseas. I'm trilingual, so I feel like I'm able to reach my students and my patients at a deeper level using their own languages. Dr. Young, saya bisa bicara bahasa Indonesia. Saya berjuang. Sama-sama. And I just told him I'm a nurse. My issue is a little bit off from everybody else's, but there's something I would like you to know about nurse educators here at the college. Placement on the salary scale for everybody is based on years of experience and education. However, nurse educators like myself, who are required to have a master's degree, a level of expertise and experience in our profession to teach full-time, receive 1/2 the amount of credit for our years of experience. 1/2. My initial placement on the salary scale with my experiences is valued at 1/2 of that of all my colleagues. Thank you.
So thank you, and again, thanks to all of those that came up to the podium and gave up their Valentine's Day evening to make their presentations. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on now to item 4.1, Board Committee Reports, Board Policy Committee Report. Do we have?
Chair Garrett, the Board Policy Committee did not meet this month, so there's no report.
Okay. Moving on now to item 4.2, the Board Finance Committee report. The Board Finance Committee met on February the 5th, and we got an update on the district budget. We got an update on our FTESs, our current standing in that regard. We got an update on our PERS and STIRS because it was a prior question that I had asked. I wanted to see where we were at with legacy employees versus new members coming in, and that has to do with the Pension Reform Act that went into effect January 1st of 2013, because I wanted to see if we were getting new employees into the system versus legacy employees, and we're actually, which in one respect is a good thing for the district. We're getting classic members or legacy members in, which means we're getting people that are coming to MJC to work from other districts. And so our numbers in that regard are going up, and the other numbers for new members are going down, which means our pension liabilities are going to continue to rise. And then we had a question with regards to our, let's see, Sarah's looking at me. Hold on, I'll get it. We had a question with how our performance was doing in our pension account, where we set aside amount of money for our future pension obligations. And I'm happy to report that given the fact that it's pretty much a passive indexed account, it's actually doing very well. The last year was 13.2%, and that was net of fees. So I'm happy to report that is growing, and that's a good thing to have. So I will end it there. We'll move on now to item, unless the other committee members, Abe was there. Do you have anything to add? I'm sorry. It's good. Okay. Moving on now to item 5, reports and information items. 5.1, Modesto Junior College, Columbia College presentation on career and technical education.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, President Stearns, Chancellor Legara. Thank you for the opportunity to showcase how much we love career and technical education at both Modesto Junior College and Columbia College. Our presentation today will be brief. It'll cascade through a variety of different programs. But we hope you'll get a little bit of a taste of what we've been doing across the colleges in terms of career and technical education programs. And we'll close with highlighting a new partnership with the Auto Body Collision and Repair Program, and the ICAR partnership. So to begin, we wanted to kind of provide some context to Carl Perkins and Strong Workforce, and how those investments come to bear on our campus, and then we would highlight what we would be doing, what we have been doing in career and technical education program. So one of the things that we've been working on over the past year, I'm sorry, let me step back. I'm joined with my team, my fellow dean and twin, Klaus from Columbia College, and our instructor, Jeff Phoebe from the Auto Body Collision and Repair, and a couple of his students. And so our hope is that we can give you a taste of what's been happening across the campus. So to begin with is, we've been working on the meaning of Carl Perkins. because it commonly gets confused as simply CTE. And Carl Perkins, as a federal act, means that we impact 9,900 students approximately across our district that are economically disadvantaged. And the resources are meant to support the success of those students enrolled in CTE programs. What we've also been working on, which has been really interesting over the years, is that over this particular year, is how the different departments, whether it is library services, whether it is general education, whether it is a business program or a automotive program, how they all couple together to support students. So we're really proud of the process that we've interjected over the last year. The other large initiative that occurs is the Strong Workforce Program initiative, and that's been the game changer, a shift for us in the CTE arena in the past 2 years. And that's really boils down to more and better. And from a metric perspective, that means for us more students served, more students completing, and more students arriving at jobs. That's the policy intent behind Strong Workforce. So with that intent, we've had a variety of different initiatives that we're investing in. Strong Workforce in this last round has some unique partnerships, hospitality management, which Klaus will speak to. We have a unique construction initiative partnership with the Stanislaus County Office of Education in exploring tiny homes development for our community. And through the Business and Behavioral Science Department, cybersecurity in a partnership with Modesto City Schools. And that's just a taste of some of the work that we're doing. Klaus?
So at Columbia College, we do a lot of CTE in action. And here's a perfect example of what we have been currently doing to revitalize our hospitality program. This is the product of a Gamma J class, which is the cold kitchen, and was executed by students who, at the end of the day, were totally amazed about the outcome. They have never seen how to make a display piece out of fruits and vegetables. And you have to realize this is sort of the first time somebody's in a professional kitchen, and maybe one day I take all of you and teach you, you know. So part of our calling is to recruit through the various high schools, and there's different opportunities given to us. We were just at the Sonora High School Career Day, where we had large representation of all the CTE programs, including arts and sciences and all the offerings we have at Columbia College. They included about 600 high school students who came through different class periods and breaks to explore different options. We're taking the same opportunity up next week in Calaveras, where we serve Calaveras High School and Bret Harte. But we don't stop there. We also engaged, very much engaged, and it's all the way from the leadership down. If you look very closely, Brian is somewhere in the picture over there, who drove all the way up from Modesto to support what we do and to support me and to support our faculty and to support our students, to help our community with outreach. And there's a strong belief that people, the students at Columbia College, should also serve the communities they live in. So we did this. I think we created about 1,300 omelettes in a 2-hour time period. It was amazing. But one of the other key things is, it is the appreciation of the community for us being involved and engaged with their fundraising efforts. And then we do a lot of professional development. At Columbia College, we just hosted the regional consortium, had about 38 people in attendance. Deans from 13 different colleges gave us an opportunity to showcase, and of course, it was part of a class. One of the coolest experiences was I introduced all of these students participating in the preparation of the lunch, and it was amazing to see that our students not complete 1 degree, but sometimes 2 and several certificates across campus. So they go anywhere from entrepreneurship to forestry into hospitality. And yes, it does not make sense for us, but it makes sense for them and their career goals.
At Modesto, 2 of the highlighted events are the NC simulation training. We're expanding the technology-based training in the machine tool technology program. And NT simulators actually allow us to go through the process of the simulation of shaving metals without the actually having to shave the metals in terms of a beta test process. The other thing that occurred this last Friday, and again, I have to thank our leadership for allowing us to be poised and begin to host a lot of these events, is we had industrial faculty over at Modesto Junior College talking about the movement in supporting manufacturing and topics like human-machine interface and supercomputers and networking connected with industrial automation parts and how do we blend these and prepare our students for the future were at the core of those topics.
But we're also providing students with an opportunity to learn by organizing field trips. On the left-hand side, Columbia College students attended the large food exhibition on the West Coast, the fancy food show on a Sunday morning with the use of the district bus transportation, which worked out great. We attended the show. We made the opportunity available for 45 students plus faculty and staff as professional development. And so does MJC with their business program.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're really excited about how we're using Carl Perkins is we've been able to support more student field trips. So the business department headed off to the Bay Area, visited Salesforce and the Federal Reserve, providing students an experience that they may not always have the opportunity to do, particularly when they're just beginning with their education. We also just had a group head on over to the Bay Area once again to visit the Gig Economy Conference. And that was a multidisciplined team of computer science, computer electronics, business and office administration, faculty and students.
And students from MJC just arrived back about 20 minutes ago from the World Expo in Tulare. They went there I saw about 50 people coming off the bus. And it's an amazing experience. I've been there several times. And because I've been there, we can make those experiences available to the students. But we also do other initiatives, and now we're trying to create pathways and pipelines from all the way from a pre-apprenticeship program into a prep academy, into fire science, then our fire academy, and then putting the graduates into the workforce to obtain living wages. And then just that everybody knows what CTE does. CTE doesn't exist without the partnership of many. And we have working relationships with federal, state, and local agencies in all different disciplines we have in CTE, as well as local employers, and of course with other educational institutions. And Pedro and me, we really work closely in every CTE-related areas to support each other, which is reflected in some of the efforts we do as a team.
Before I bring the auto body group up to highlight what they've been doing, I also want to thank you. I would be remiss, as I've done more work across the campus, our faculty have done some pretty remarkable work in submitting proposals and being innovative. And those discussions always seem to go like, what do you want to do? Imagine it, and let's try to see how we can get that in place. And so our faculty, our students, really are progressive and are doing a lot for us. Jeff?
Okay. First, I'd like to introduce Christopher Rajas.
Right.
You can speak up.
I'm a student. I just completed auto body. You just want me to speak now?
Yes.
All right.
You're ready. You're ready.
I'm ready. All right. My name is Christopher. I started, when I first started my first semester, I got a desire for auto body, and I really held on. I got really grounded here. I was able to learn everything, and I was able to apply it into our shop. You know, BB was there teaching us hands-on with us. Any questions that we had, he was there with us, and I had a lot of them. He was probably bugged by me, but I was there. Since that time, I've completed school. I'm now a full-time auto body technician at Burnside Auto Body with the help of BB. He helped me get job placement there. Before that, I was working part-time. So coming up here in 2 months, I'll be 1 year there working. This education with the iCar has really helped me open doors. You know, I've been able to have a good job placement where I wanted to be because I learned what I wanted and I was able to succeed in it. I'm just very grateful for this opportunity to come here and just let you guys know that I'm one that's to stand here and say this class is working. This iCard that is going to be here is a great tool for very many students. Thank you, guys.
Okay, next we have Ron Davis.
Hello, I'm Ronald Davis, and one of my major things is I started off working 2 jobs, very hard jobs, not nice jobs at all, and barely getting by. I started through the ACT program, and it wasn't necessarily ICAR, but it was through the Tech Ed division, and because of the ACT program, I was allowed to, it helped me work at Tesla to where I demand now when I walk into a place, I demand a fair amount. So the days of me working 2 or 3 jobs and barely seeing my family, now I'm able to work 1 job and enjoy the job that I like very much. And if it wasn't for having instructors and all around throughout the campus and being able to talk to the dean when I see him, he stops and talks and engages with everybody. It helped me very much just to get the ball rolling, because at some point in time I thought I'm just going to work forever until my arms fall off. And so now being able to have more opportunities and the door is now open, I'm looking forward. I'm a returning student because of the ICAR program. Before, they were just starting to implement ICAR, and now that they actually have it going, I'm excited to now come back and not only just to finish, but to now go to the upper echelons, to a higher plateau. And really now, when I go into a workforce, I can not just say, I want this, now I demand this. And I'm just excited. I'm really glad that we're in a place of this community college. Like when I tell people, oh, you go to a community college, they're just surprised on just the level of activities that go on and just the various amount of clubs and just throughout the whole campus. So it's been very great experience. So I just appreciate it.
Okay, so you're probably wondering what ICAR is. All right, it's a not-for-profit organization formed in 1979, and what it is dedicated to providing industry knowledge and skills for the collision repair industry. And the represented industries are collision repair, insurance, OEMs, which stands for original equipment manufacturers, training and research, and supply vendors. Now, one of the cool things about our partnership with ICAR now is the savings, not only to the college, but to the students. Okay. The annual savings for the college is only about $1,100 a year, which is, substantial, but to students, they receive $2,500 worth of training for free, okay, which sets them up for the rest of their life. Okay. And then also, once they receive their certificates from ICAR, they have access to what's called the RTS site, which gives them access to all the OEMs and repair procedures for the rest of their career. So it's huge. All right. Okay, and then what we show here is a screenshot of some of the trainings that are coming up for industry classes. With the partnership, they're coming in and teaching industry level classes. So we start the ground up. These guys have finished Pro Level 1, and then they can take additional training at any time. And industry also has to continue with their education, stay up to date with these cars. And we don't even call them cars anymore, they're devices. They're the smartest thing you'll ever own, I promise you. That's all there is to it, okay? So, yeah, I think that's about it. I just want to say thank you for having us here. Thank you, Jill. Appreciate that. And thank you to the board. Appreciate it. And thank you to these guys for coming.
We have We have a question.
Can I have a question?
Hold on, we have a question
Yeah.
from a trustee.
You know, what is the scope of the program? How many people do you impact?
I have 60 students right now.
This is an ongoing 60 students? And the length of the program?
Year and a half to 2 years.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. It's not often that we get to see our successes, and as a number of the presenters said during public comment, it's all about student success, so I'm glad we're able to showcase that, so thank you very much.
Yeah, I am too. Thank you very much.
And hold on, we got one more question here.
Well, I actually have a question, I think, for Pedro and Klaus.
Okay.
Jeff, but, and I think I know the answer, but I want everyone in the audience to hear the answer, because we had a presentation a while back, and it talked about the number of students coming to YCCD that choose CTE for their major, and I think that's very important to share with everyone here.
And I don't have the exact number, but if I recall the work that we did that was done about 2-3 years ago, it was about 14,000 students.
But it's over 50% of our students that come to this college choose CTE. So you've got a huge area to work with, and I just want you to know how much I value that part of our college.
Thank you, Ann. We really appreciate it. And thank you to the faculty. We appreciate the work you do.
Are there any other questions? All right, moving on now to item 5.2, constituency reports. Moving to student senate activity reports, and we'll turn it over to our student trustee, or we have here ASMJC, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. This month, ASMGC has had quite few events. Our weekly flow has continued to have a great turnout. We've fed over 1,600 students since the semester has begun. Yesterday, we held our first senator event of the semester, naming banning American voices in an outlook law in literature schools. On that hand, I would like to deeply thank our professor Chandra Howard and our librarian Susan Cassidy for devoting their time to our students. It definitely means a lot. We also celebrated Valentine's Day today by giving out students free goodie bags, just to let them know that they are appreciated. Next week, we have our African American Heritage Week that will be on East and West Campus. We will be ending the week with the African American Conference on Friday the 23rd. And we also have our Hispanic Education Conference coming up on March 17th. And that is all for my report. Any questions?
Any questions, anyone? Nope, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And do we have anyone here from Columbia, or are you going to give the report? You, all right?
We'll be doing the report again.
All right.
Hello and good evening, everyone. The ASCC has been plenty busy this semester. Currently, our biggest project happening right now is finalizing our technology plan for the students. Using the Student Senate budget, we are able to upgrade our computers that have been very helpful to myself and many of my peers. That has been an ongoing thing that is finally being wrapped up, and I can't tell you how many students have come up to me saying, finally. So I'm very happy to announce that. A new system is being in place for both our Student Senate and our ambassadors to help us connect more with students in classrooms in our community, and using a lot more outreach programs and techniques. We've contacted other schools in farther out places that have to work with bigger bodies and asking them for events and tips and what it is we can do to help connect with more students. Upcoming events that will be taking place are going to be our 2008 Student Senate elections, and then our graduation in April. One that is a little more sooner than later is our mid-semester madness, which is just helping students, making sure they are keeping up to date with their classes, their homework, their assignments, and a lot of help from the librarians and teachers have been putting in a lot more time for that. We thank you for that. Lastly, I'm happy to say we are still receiving a very high use for our food bank, which means we're just getting much more support out there to those students who might not be able to help themselves with food. So with that, there's nothing else to report. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on now to Academic Senate activity reports. And did we have a coin toss of who's going to go first? Columbia. Is that because you want to go over tonight, Curtis?
He's got.
Oh, okay. Nice save. Thank you.
I think he's got about 10 pages of reports.
Okay.
I'm making up for last week.
I figured.
Elizabeth, this is number 7 for me. I still get nervous. So. Thank you, board. Happy Valentine's Day. It's good to see you. And we look forward to having you at Columbia next month. I had a number of things, but I thought I'd whittle it down to one given our time. Our Senate continues to work on trying to make processes easier and clarify pathways for students as they work through their programs. So a big success for us this past month was we recognized that we have a 6-unit concurrent requirement that if a student wants to sign up for work study and get credit for work study, we also had a local requirement that they take another 6 credits, which was prohibitive for some students and was preventing them from completing some of their certificates, especially in something like automotive, where they've finished all their coursework. The last thing they need to do are these work study experiences for credit, but that also required them to also take more units at the college, and it was just too much. And so we looked into it and realized it's totally local. The state doesn't require it, the district didn't require it, so we looked at it and we got rid of the barrier. Small, small but mighty differences for our students. So that's just one example of the things we've been working on. And that concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Nope.
All right.
Curtis, take note. You're next.
First, I want to thank good evening, board. How are you? First, I want to thank my colleagues that are here that so eloquently and beautifully spoke about the programs and the professionalism of faculty at MJC. Thank you. I've sort of saved a speech that, it's not the one I'm going to give here, but maybe I'll give it up at Columbia. But when I hear my colleagues, I not only was I touched by what they had to do, but it brings up something that for me has been a dissonance in what the institutions have been trying to achieve and the way that we perceived certain things in the district are taking place. On the one hand, we're being asked to increase success rates, graduation rates, the number of certificates and degrees. And the dissonance comes is that faculty are all on board with that. I don't think there's a single faculty who does not desire increase and success of their students. However, it's easy to lose sight when we go into rooms and we start looking at numbers and the way we talk about FTSs and wishes and the budget meeting that you attended, that students are not widgets, that faculty are not widgets. That faculty, in fact, do not work from 9 to 5. They have their hours, they go and teach, but then it's an endless job, day in and day out. Doesn't matter what faculty, whether we're in our conversation, reading a newspaper, reading a new book, it's always work. And I think the dissonance comes in that these negotiations, mine is academic and professional, but these negotiations have dragged long enough that it's endangering some of the work that we're attempting to do at the institution. And it goes back to my first speech, the first time I stood before this board back in 2015, morale. Morale. Many of the things you heard last night are above and beyond the call of duty. We don't check out from school, go home, sit down and have a glass of beer and come back and teach the next day. On the contrary, we go and we grade, we read, we meet with colleagues, even when we're having beers at Commonwealth. It's about work. Believe it. It could be, it could get stressful at times. So I urge you, please, let us come to some sort of an agreement that is that satisfied both sides, but especially that doesn't come across as we're trying to subvert what we are asking faculty to do, which is to increase student success, increasing class sizes, the way that we talk about scheduling sometimes. I'm not sure. I mean, Sam, I think, said it beautifully. He made a very eloquent argument. Show me the literature where it says that these are the best thing for students. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. Moving on now to LTAC.
Good evening again. LTAC has their first social gathering on February 22nd in Jamestown, and all the MJC LTAC members are invited. We will have a second LTAC social sometimes in the fall. We have also been working on upcoming elections for new members. One vacancy due to retirement, and thanks to Chancellor Young and Gina, we increased PEP funding to $2,000 per member per year. Notification will be sent out this week, and we have been working on revising the evaluation document, which is currently listed in the handbook, and will work with HR to propose or to have several changes done to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? And I'm sorry, Curtis, I didn't ask if the board had any questions of you, but okay, thank you. Moving on now to YFA.
Good evening. My name is Jim Solomon. I'm the president of the Yosemite Faculty Association. All of us in this room and throughout the district are continually provided with an endless supply of numbers. These numbers come in many forms, such as ratios. For example, FTES divided by FTEF, referring to full-time equivalent students or faculty respectively. Sometimes they come in the form of whole numbers, such as weekly student contact hours or WISHE. And sometimes they come in the form of numbers about money. For example, the budget, various costs and expenses, apportionment, efficiency, etc. So tonight, I too would like to discuss numbers. But I wish to discuss them in terms of their meaning, their value, and their worth. Concepts that investigate more than the typical numerical symbols that represent something in an antiseptic way. As I have informed the board more than once during my YFA report, you know that the YFA and the YCCD have yet to complete our contract negotiations. We started this round of negotiations on November 6, 2015. That was 831 days ago. Almost 28 months. The YFA contract expired on June 30th, 2016. That was 594 days ago. And we still do not have an updated contract. The YFA negotiating team has spent an exhaustive number of hours researching and analyzing information, as well as engaging in long hours of bargaining with the district team. Consider the number of hours wasted that could have been used for better purposes. Consider the amount of money spent engaging in an activity other than what has yet to produce a final product. The district loves to talk about efficiency. How efficient is this? Is this what the taxpayers expect all of us to do with these human and financial resources in the YCCD? No. This is careless disregard of the public's funds and trust in the district. Tonight's purchase orders on item 6.2 of the consent agenda lists yet another $13,446 to be paid to the Robert Ferrelli Company. Since October 22nd, 2015, the Robert Ferrelli Company will have been paid $834,708 following the approval of tonight's consent agenda. The most outrageous of these expenses came in the form of the YCCD paying an exorbitant rate of $35,000 per month, plus $5,000 in travel expenses to the Robert Ferrelli Company for IT consulting. How is that efficient? How is that being good stewards of the public's funds and trust? The questions for which the taxpayers deserves honest answers are, why do we need the Robert Ferrelli Company to provide services to the YCCD in the first place? Why was our existing software defective? Did the district attempt to foolishly customize a product which already was expensive and then make matters worse in the process? How many of our current modules in DataTel are still being paid for by the district but are still unusable? One of the purchase orders for Ferrelli approved back in 2015 was a $16,000 flat rate plus travel expenses not to exceed $3,000. It actually says that in the contract. But when the travel expenses exceeded the contracted amount, a follow-up purchase order was approved for $286. The district had no obligation to pay this amount since the contract specified the agreed upon cap. And who is accountable for all of this? You're probably asking why I'm discussing this at all. Well, it's because it gets to the heart of the district's real priorities, and apparently the faculty are not part of that list. Part-time faculty and full-time faculty teaching overload give the district an absolute bargain on instructional costs compared to teaching a course as part of one's own normal load. At Columbia College, one part-time faculty instructor drives 63 miles one way to teach a course at a prison. Due to the location and the indirect paths of the roads, it takes him 1 hour and 43 minutes one way to get to this instructional site. The YFA has asked for travel reimbursement for this instructor, but this request has been denied with the response that A, the current contract only covers relevant full-time instructor travel expenses, and B, until the contract officially changes, there should be no special treatment of one instructor over another. This logic, however, is hypocritical given the numerous times that the YFA has had to remind both colleges to stop making special deals and involve union leadership to draft proper MOUs. Additionally, it seems morally repugnant since this part-time instructor's wife has cancer and is trying to raise 3 small children and also provide for his family. Additionally, the district continues to sell the narrative that faculty need to be more productive and that we need more efficiency in our classes. All of this, supposedly, is to cut costs and help the budget. But who benefits from the apportionment that is generated from faculty working with the same students for 16 and a half weeks during a semester? The apportionment the district receives from FTES is the result of weekly, direct, and continuous instruction. The last time I checked, that happened in our classrooms and laboratories. It did not happen in this building. And yet the state controller's website underlines exactly where the priorities are and who benefits. According to an article from the Union Democrat, former Chancellor Roe Darnell was paid $210,000 when he retired in August of 2010. In 2011, former Chancellor Joan Smith was paid $243,966. During her 5 years as YCCD Chancellor, her salary topped out at $287,759. This totals $1,627,361 for 5 years of work, a total of $43,793 in raises that represents a 17.06% increase from 2011 to 2016. And that is just one person in central services. Having continued looking at the state controller's website, it is obvious that the same level of padding bank accounts for some select individuals in central services represents the true YCCD priorities. What I've discussed tonight are not sterile numbers. They are rhetorical acts. They send two messages simultaneously. Number one, faculty do not matter. And number two, student success is a punchline to a poorly told joke told to mask the district's true priority, and that is money that it can spend freely for its own interests. The faculty ask you to change this toxic paradigm.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate your eloquence, but remind everyone we have to be respectful of the other constituency groups that are here and be respectful of the time as well. So we'll move on now to the California School Employees Association. I believe I saw Debbie here earlier.
Good evening, trustees. Chancellor Young. I did take a speech class, but it's really, really difficult to follow Jim. He is an excellent speaker. CSEA is in negotiations now with some language tweaks. It's going relatively well. Oh, I did want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. And in between the last meeting and this meeting, I was able to rush home and grab a salad. And my husband gave me a new Mickey Mouse watch, so I'm all excited. And I do appreciate the board coming to a decision so we don't have to go to a special election. Thank you very much for the compromises that were made. For the past month, I've been spending many hours investigating a CalPERS overpayment for 18 CSEA retirees. Classified professional retirees have the option to continue as CSEA members. I've been contacted by the members to help. My retired members received a letter from CalPERS that their longevity was incorrectly reported by the district. This caused them to be overpaid and will be required to pay back the overpayment. I'm working with CSEA headquarters, CalPERS, and the district fiscal services to try to figure out what happened and how we can resolve this. My concern is that my retired members will be required to repay their overpayment in addition to their monthly pension check being reduced. My members made their decisions to retire based on estimates from both the district and CalPERS. They worked for the district for many years and earned their retirement. Money came out of their checks every month into their CalPERS account. The district also paid into as a total compensation package. I, as well as all my members, are very appreciative of the contributions made by the district. I'm still gathering information. My hope is that the district will correct this issue if it is determined that, in fact, this was a mistake made by the district. I continue to receive calls daily as these retirees are stressed because they don't have all the information. They don't know what they're going to have to pay back, and they don't know what their checks are going to be. The unknown is very stressful. This is a very negative impact on their fixed income. I wanted to make you aware of this situation, and I will keep you posted as I keep digging to try to find information. I've been asked by several people, why am I so passionate about this? And I've been studying under the teachings of Simon Sinek, who teaches about leadership and management and how to get your team to help. And one of the main things is that if a team member, when asked, why are you doing this? The answer often in a good team is because they would do it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. And Alan McKissick sent me a text earlier in the day that he would not be with us this evening, but he is here in spirit. So,
wants me to thank the board policies?
Well, I think our real direction should be with Ann and then her partner in crime, Leslie. But Ann has been working on this for a long time and is very passionate about it. So that's where we need to put our efforts. Thank you, Ann. We'll move on now to 5.3, activities and announcements, Columbia College. Jill, are you going to do that for Angie, or I see Brian here in the audience? I think tag you're it. I saw the look on Jill, so that was.
Good evening, trustees. I'm winging this here, but Angie tends to highlight something, and I think she would highlight for us tonight that the Child Development Tea Party fundraiser, which is a second-year event for our Child Development Club. It goes to support the students in the program to pay their fingerprint fees. And for many of our students, that charge is about $95 for getting fingerprinted in order to go work in a lab environment as part of their program. That is a prohibitive expense. And so our tea party is being held on February 23rd at 3:30. Last year, Interim Chancellor Harmon went, and Dr. Martin, you were there, and I think someone else came up as well. So I wanted to challenge and encourage the Board of Trustees to join us that day. You can read the remainder of the event on your report.
I believe it was Trustee Rodriguez went up there and told everyone what a wonderful time he had. So, yep.
Thank you.
So now we'll turn it over to President Stearns for Modesto Junior College.
Thank you, Chair Garrett, trustees, and Chancellor Young. Good evening. I want to highlight two of the items on our list this evening, and I'm sad that some of the folks have already left. So I hope that you will share with them. I'd like to recognize our Cardozo Award winners. This is an award that was named after a former YCCD trustee. And this year, the elders of the Umoja program and the faculty and classified professionals of our Rise Up Center were recognized with this award that really recognizes commitment to student success. So are some of them, yay, thank you, Professor Smith. I'm glad you were here. And second, I would like to invite you tomorrow evening. Dr. James Curl will be our featured artist at the gallery. His photos are on display there, and the evening's reception begins at 6 p.m. with his notes. And so I have not been yet to see the show and am absolutely looking forward to it. So I love his photos that are in the Science Community Center.
All right. Thank you, Jill. Any questions for Jill? All right. Thank you again. Moving on now to item 5.5, presentation and updates, Yosemite Community College District Chancellor, Chancellor Young.
My first item is the Employees Recognition Dinner, April 6th. I announced it at the last meeting, and I just want to report back. I was at the first meeting of the organizing committee, and it was heartwarming for me to see so many members from both colleges and central services all planning for this event. So I hope you will mark it on your calendar for April 6th. This will be in Oakdale at the Bianchi Community Center. Second item is we are accepting nominations for the Board of Governors Annual Classified Employees of the Year Award. And we do not want to pass up this opportunity. So we hope to receive the nominations before February 22nd. Third, I know at both colleges, preparations have already started for commencement. I want to thank the committees and the folks involved. I know this is a big event, and it's for our students. Item 4, I'm happy to announce that we have made an offer and it has been selected. Dr. Susan Yeager has accepted the offer of employment as our next Vice Chancellor of Fiscal Services. And she'll be in the agenda later on this evening. And finally, I know today is happy Valentine's Day, but there is something even bigger just ahead. That's the Lunar New Year. Just 2 days from now. It is celebrated by many of the Asian communities. So I just want to wish all of you Happy New Year. It's the year of the dog.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chancellor Yang. Any questions of the Chancellor? Okay, thank you again. Moving on now to item 5.6, one-time funding allocation augmentation in Modesto Junior College and Columbia College update.
Thank you, Chair Garrett. This is in response to a question that came from the Board of Trustees regarding the one-time funding allocation that both Modesto Junior College and Columbia College received this year. And I'm going to start with the short answer in terms of where we put those resources. At MJC, 100% of that $870,000 has gone to part-time overload. And now, Jim, you commented about endless numbers, and so please forgive me. And I'm going to do my best to not overwhelm us with numbers as we explore this a little bit. MJC's budget this year is $56,278,000. That's $106,000 more than last year. And it included resources given to the college to cover the 2% salary increase that was granted to the CSCA, our classified professionals, and to our leadership team. It includes the resources to cover the PERS and STIRS rate increase. It also included a reduction in our general fund allocation related to SB 361. It included a reduction in the fringe benefits category. Last year, our one-time fund augmentation was $1.45 million. In 2017-18, the one-time funds augmentation was $870,000. The net result of this is beyond the salary and benefits budget at MJC. Our overall opportunity to spend was reduced by $886,480 as compared to last year in real dollars. As adopted, our budget was 96% salary and benefit. But as adopted, the budget did not cover our expected real cost for part-time and overload. And as a matter of fact, there was a difference of nearly $3 million between what was funded and what we anticipate that real cost will be. To address that, all of our divisions, all of our area budgets that were not salary and benefit were reduced to 80% of what they were allocated last year. So when we think about areas like our physical, recreational, and health education division, that budget that includes travel for the team, that includes the cost of officials, was reduced by 20%. And the same was applied across the board. Every dollar that we have saved because of the position vacancy and the time that it takes to fill those positions is being moved toward covering the true cost of our part-time and overload expenses. Now, recently we received some additional resources. There were one-time discretionary mandates that came our direction. And MJC received an additional $371,000, and then Chancellor Yang put an additional $100,000 out of the allocation that went to central services toward the two colleges, and MJC received another $85,000. But the net total is still a budget that has operating resources that are $430,000 less than we had last year. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Jill. Brian?
I'm not as familiar with this material because I started off as the interim vice president of administrative services and looking at the numbers from that perspective and decided that maybe getting back to instruction was a better place to go. Nevertheless, I'm looking at the figures that are here, and I'm going to share a bit of a story of what's happened to us in the last few years. When I started as the interim vice president of administrative services, I was told, here's your budget. It's $300,000 less than it was the previous year because the money's going back. I said, oh, okay, well, okay, Columbia's a little bit smaller. There was a shift of FTEs between the college. And then I learned that MJC's money was going back to the district as well. So we've been in this SB 361 adjustment for a number of years now that's been odd. And then one-time funds comes the other direction and almost washes out in a sense. $13.3 million, there was a $375,000 backwards, there's $225,000 of one-time funding that comes. And so you end up about the same place that you were. But it's not the same kind of dollars. The dollars that were in our budget before were ongoing money that's going to be there every year, money that's going to allow you to hire personnel, staffing, support your instructional areas, support administrative areas, support the different initiatives that we're on. One-time dollars come to us, and they're just that. They're one-time funds that you can only spend in the current year. So you can buy equipment, you can buy software, you can pay some stipends for doing some of the work that the faculty members are asked to do with some of that funding. But you can't hire somebody. I'm working desperately right now, trying to finagle some reductions in some personnel who've disappeared, resignations, those kinds of things. And so taking some staff positions out of my own administrative area and trying to reallocate those dollars towards an instructional support in one of the strongest areas in the sciences at Columbia College. And it's very, very difficult to do. We may be able to achieve it, but we're really scraping through with those. Part of the issue with our one-time funding goes to support some things that are traditionally don't generate enough revenue to cover their costs, and yet they're things we need to do. For Columbia College, those include our parking and security. It's a 24/7 operation that runs on the 2 parking lots that you've seen and the annual costs that we get from parking passes to our students. It doesn't cover the cost. We have to augment that with general funds. Financial aid, some of the backfill on the services, not financial aid to the students, but supporting financial aid staffing. Our student health center, similar. Our bookstore, we have to have the bookstore to provide access to our students, and yet the cost of personnel exceeds the revenue that's generated, so we have to cover that. Same thing in our food service operation, and the same thing in our child care. So those items we continue to look at as there are creative ways to solve those problems, but we use the one-time allocations to cover those backfills to make sure that those are held, and at the same time trying to keep as much money into our part-time and overload budget as possible. We have also made, through concerted effort amongst the deans and faculty at Columbia College, we've been able to do more with dollars in our part-time and overload by increasing efficiencies and looking closely at that and trying to improve in those realms as well. Questions?
Any questions for Brian?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brian. We'll move on now to item 5.7, bond update. I believe we have a representative here from Kitchell. Now you have 30 seconds. No, I'm just kidding.
No presentation, I'm done.
There you go.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, President Stearns. I actually don't have a presentation to provide because all we had was boring pictures of dirt being moved. But you have an update in your packet, and I did want to report out that for the parking lot project, it is tracking on schedule. The weather is cooperating with us, so no rain means they're on schedule, and we're tracking well. The Science Outdoor Education Project, we received word from the Department of State Architects that they will begin to review the documents in March. And under the Hammer Throw project, the bids came in yesterday and they were about 50% below budget. So we were good on that one. Other than that, if you have any questions on the attachments that were provided in your packet, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions?
I have one question. If you could just tell me the anticipated completion of construction for the outdoor science education
Right now, we are,
It goes to Q4 of 2018. Will it be done by then, or that was the end of the columns?
that was the end of the columns, but
Okay.
it's a 4 to 5 month construction duration because of the greenhouse that will be on the project. But we plan on going out to bid April, May, and starting construction in June. So June, around November, it'll be completed.
It might be, okay. Then what you have here is fine.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Nope. Thank you very much.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, you too. Moving on now to item 5.8, grant activity update. Usually this is just a placeholder on the agenda for information. Does anyone have any questions? Going once, going twice. Wonderful. Okay, we'll move on now to item 6, action items and consent agenda. 6.1, approve action items 6.2 through 6.14. Does any member, hold on, does any member want to pull any item from the consent agenda? Okay, seeing.
I have one.
Well, we have one from our Vice Chancellor of Human Resource. She has some information to add.
So page 1, increase in assignment for classified personnel, Chaiwat, and I'm not even going to attempt the last name, but up in our career tech ed at Columbia College, the end of the assignment date should read 4/28/18, which takes that through the end of the semester. So that was a typo. And also, as required by the Ralph M. Brown Act, we need to report out the salary for an executive staff member. So Dr. Susan Yeager will be appointed at step C, and that is $193,807 annually.
Okay, so you've heard the addendums. There's been no request to pull any item from the consent calendar. So I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented with the addendums added by Vice Chancellor of Human Resource.
So with that, I'll move that we accept the consent calendar as presented.
Okay, it's been moved by Trustee Rojas. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Viss. Any further comments or discussions? I would just like to add that President Fairchild would have been here this evening, but she is ill and had to go home. So we wish her the best on her health and a speedy recovery. But I also want to wish her the best in her retirement. I think she's been a wonderful addition to the YCCD community, and we wish her well in her next adventure in life. So thank you, President Fairchild. So with that, any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So now we'll move on. I see a separate item, 6.2, consent agenda, fiscal services purchase orders. No? We're all done with that? Okay. Oh, never mind. See what happens. Let me get ahead here. Getting too literal into this agenda here. 7.1, that's why Sarah was standing up, ready to go. Quarterly report on the district's financial condition.
Good evening, trustees. Before you this evening for discussion and approval is the second quarter 311Q, which is the state requirement for our financial reporting. Certainly don't want to have to bore you with all the numbers, so we'll motor on through those. The first top part of the report shows you our actuals from 14-15 up through 16-17 and our projections for 17-18. We're still projecting that we are going to spend what our budget was. For the FTES, we're still annualizing that we will hit our target at 16,542. And Section 3 shows a strong cash balance at over $25 million. Section 4 shows you where we are at year to date with our expenditures. We are at 50% of our revenue received, and our expenditures are tracking at 42%. So we could potentially have some savings there. In Section 5, 6, and 7, it asks us questions about anything related to contract negotiations, any debt agreements, or any fiscal problems we see in the future, and we've indicated no on that. Going to the actual quarterly financial report for the general fund, this is our in-house form that we prepare for you guys, just to highlight a few items. On line 7 for other, you will see that we have received over $990,000 in other revenue. That was because of the addition of the about $458,000 that we did not anticipate receiving that was allocated out to the campuses as one-time funds. For the lottery, you'll see that that's trending at 31%, and that's because of timing. We always receive the lottery significantly late in the fiscal year. And for the transfers down on line 15, you'll see that we still have not completed all the transfers. That's also a line item for contingencies. So that's pending any settlement with YFA. We still have that those funds set aside. So with that, if you have any questions.
Are there any questions? I'd just like to add, you know, the Finance Committee has received these numbers at our February 5th meeting, and I just want to thank our Fiscal Services staff for the information. We ask a lot of questions, or at least I do, maybe to the chagrin of my other members, but I think it's important. And I would just like to add with respect to finances, you know, and I've said it before, retirement costs are going to continue to go up. And, you know, with respect to STRS and PERS rates, they were, especially in STRS, because STRS is the only system that is controlled by the legislature. They have no control unless changes are made through the legislative process. PERS is different. The problem with that is that STRS for a long time, many years, kept their contribution rates, both for employees and for employers, artificially low. So when Governor Brown instituted a new contribution schedule for employers and employees, it increased the contributions to the point where being basically below 10% on average to 20% of payroll. So that's a huge double. It's basically a little over double. There will be a lot of and I'm just reporting out what I see on my pension board. There's going to be a lot of small cities, maybe some medium-sized cities, small school districts, medium-sized school districts that are going to face financial hardship, and you may see a lot of changes in the landscape of California with regards to government operations because of their inability to pay their ongoing pension costs. So it's just something to keep in mind. But thank you, Sarah. We'll move on now to item 7.2, Board Policy, second reading.
Board Chair.
We need to vote
get a
on
motion
that.
and a vote.
A vote. And for.
I'll move the recommendation that the board conducts a public hearing, and then I guess we have to do that first.
So we'll now open the public hearing. Does any member of the public wish to comment on this item? Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for a vote.
And then I'll go ahead and move that we direct staff to submit a copy of the required report to the California Community College's Chancellor's Office.
Okay, and so moved by Trustee DeMartini.
I'll
second. Is there a second by Trustee Beggs? Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Now we'll move on to item 7.2, Board Policy, second reading. And who's going to give that? This is the second reading. Those items are listed on the posted agenda. We usually have someone that briefly goes over and brings it back.
Well, because Connie would normally do that for us,
right.
She's not here. I can ask Lynn and Leslie, who are on the committee, to my memory says that we approved both of these on the first reading and had no changes, so we would recommend to the full board exactly what's printed here. And okay, great.
Yes.
So the recommendation is made by Trustee DeMartini, who is our policy committee chair, to adopt the proposed policy revisions 4103 and 4110 as listed on the agenda. And that comes also with the advice of the two other trustees who sit on that committee, Trustee Beggs and Trustee Martin. Anyone have any other further questions on that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Viss. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Beggs. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Move on now to item 7.3, Modesto Junior College naming of building. This is in respect to naming of outdoor education center at the West Campus.
So this recommendation comes through our governance process. The hard work of determining a recommendation actually originated with the faculty who have been involved in planning the space and working directly with Dr. Al Alt and Dr. Laura Mackey from our Dean of Science, Math, and Engineering area. And they brought this forward through our Facilities Council, who then made the recommendation to College Council that we are now bringing to you for your consideration this evening.
Any trustee wish to comment?
I do. Okay. I think most of you know that I serve as the board liaison on the Great Valley Museum Foundation. And the Great Valley Museum Foundation was not at all involved in the selection of the name. They had no input. They did not know it was done. And so we did not follow the engaging all voices. We may have engaged the voices of staff and classified in that, but I don't think it's proper to choose a name without involving the board that is the Great Valley Museum Foundation. I mean, I don't know who was on that committee. I'd like to know. There's no transparency. It seemed like a very rushed thing. They've complained to me that they aren't even allowed to have input into what's going into the outdoor education center. So I don't think I have all the full information, but I can tell you, I spoke with the president today of the foundation, knew nothing about this. So somewhere, something has happened and fallen down, and I'm not sure what to do about it. I'm wondering.
Would it be proper to table it until the next board meeting?
I would be happy with that suggestion, but someone needs to approach the Great Valley Museum Board, those people who volunteer their time and give their money, to help run it. I know the college puts in a lot too, but I don't know, Jill, if you want to speak, but none of them know about this.
I think there's significant misunderstanding. This is an educational classroom space. And while it will be available for the Great Valley Museum to also take advantage of the space, it's really been designed to be an educational programming space, and through that instructional lens, and not considered part of the Great Valley Museum.
You can say that, but I think it's foolish and causes ill will to not have the courtesy to let them know what's going on and be involved in the naming. I mean, they work very, very hard. I know that there are some conflicts, and I'm not sure why, but I know that. But I just feel that they really feel snubbed. I feel that they have just been out of the loop, and they can't participate in what goes in there. And I just don't think this is the way to treat people. That's
so let's put it off until the March meeting and give everyone time to be involved. I think that's been the suggestion from
even
one of
if
our
educational necessity, just the information of how they arrived would probably be sufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they knew
Yeah.
what the committee went through, just have them share what was done, and maybe give them an opportunity to make a suggestion on the naming.
Sure. All right. So with that, we'll move on to item 8.1, comments from the Board of Trustees, and we'll start down there with our student trustee.
Thank you. Since our last meeting, I've been able to partake in a lot of outreach programs, going to different schools, much like our CTEC speakers here. I also was able to attend that same workshop to the high schoolers, both at Sonora and at Bret Harte. I very much enjoyed going out there and working for students and helping them through the process. I myself was helped when I applied for college, and I can tell that a lot of the work the Student Senate does, and a lot of the ambassadors included, they do a very fine job, which is why I decided to run for this position in the first place. I very much want to be a part of that and feel like I was passionate, and being surrounded by so many people here today. I thank you for being the role model in my life to keep me going like that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Aside from that, I was also able to attend a mental health first aid day provided to the college. This was just training for students to understand and better handle students who are feeling very pressured in crisis situations, who might not be thinking they're mentally strong enough to continue. I very much would like to be a pillar for them, as you are for me. So I was very happy to do that. Very recently, just yesterday, we had a CTC workshop from Arizona State University. They came and provided exact same thing we do, a lot of enrolling for colleges and the programs they have available. And just today, there was another Safe Talk, but this one was open to the public at Columbia College. I was able to help set up for that, and I very much look forward to the rest of them to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Martin?
I met with, I had my monthly meeting with Angie, the college president. I attended the Columbia College Foundation meeting and attended the 2 special board meetings. And I would also like to dispel the rumors and gossip that I will not be running for office next November.
Wonderful. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Trustee Beggs?
Okay, so since the last closed session board meeting on January 10th, I attended the board meeting debrief on January 16th, the special board meeting on Monday, February 5th. And as always, I recused myself from the YFA negotiations update portion of the meeting. I attended the special board meeting on February 10th, the board meeting preview also on February 10th, the MJC Foundation meeting on February 11th, and the special board meeting earlier today. I'd also like to apologize for not holding my usual monthly listening sessions recently. With my mother's recent illness, I could not schedule this time, but I will be resuming them soon, time and place to be announced, probably off campus. I'd also like to thank those in the YCCD community who took the time to express concern during the last 2 months, and condolences. Your thoughtfulness was greatly appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Rojas?
Yeah, as a community rep and YCCD board rep, I attended the President's Spring Welcome Address at Cal State Stanislaus. I'm part of the advisory council for the president. And I also was part of the induction ceremony for Athletic Hall of Fames at Cal State Stanislaus. I met with our board rep, McKisson, and we went over quite a lengthy discussion on due process, and it was very entertaining to listen to him make his pitch to me. So we had a great time. I also attended my last meeting for the Houston RDA. They've concluded their obligation.